Yeah, I just want to reiterate, I don't know if this will trigger today. Well, I don't use a trigger on a down candle, and it's a down candle, and it's below the peak right now. But even if
I
it
don't
gets
either.
slightly above the peak when it's still a down candle, I would not trigger this. So this is not triggered and probably will not trigger today.
There's a difference on, like let's say you have a long trade. There's a difference on buying a trigger on a pullback and buying a red candle or a down candle. I don't either. I would rather have the candle be a positive candle on a long, trigger the trade, and then wait for a pullback, than have it go up through a level and then come back down and go, oh, that's a pullback. It's not unless it's actually triggered.
So, but it'll be easier to explain via video.
Yeah, cool.
The advice provided on this podcast is general advice only. All statements made are considered by the participants to be accurate, but accuracy cannot be guaranteed. It has been prepared without taking into account your objectives, financial situations, or needs. All participants in this podcast, including guests, may have a financial interest in any or all of the products or services mentioned. Before acting on this advice, you should consider the appropriateness of the advice, having regard to your own objectives, financial situations, and needs. If any private products are detailed on this podcast, you should obtain a product disclosure statement relating to the products and consider its contents before making any decisions. Where quoted, past performance is not indicative of future results.
Recorded August 25th, 2017. It's the Money Path Podcast with Bob Iacchino and Mike Arnold, founders of Path Trading Partners. On episode 86, The What and the Why is sponsored by Motive Wave. Go to pathtradingpartners.com and download your 14-day free trial. So let's join Bob and Mike with a conversation, news in the markets.
Hello.
What? Bob Iacchino's on the floor? Is he passed out?
No, that's not unusual.
What?
Didn't used to be unusual.
Call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. 842242991.
Is that a sound effect?
I got no sound effects on this show.
What was that?
Not on my end.
It was Skype dialing into multiple people multiple times on the same.
So am I going to have a voicemail?
No, I think it was going to Stafford, actually.
I know nothing.
Yeah, well, okay, but we're talking about what was happening. Oh, wow.
So for the record, in trying to get this to be the new format, Michael, when you say, did you read this or can you see this? It's going to be no. I can't have the notes up. Well, I mean, I could, but I lose them. Just, you have to read the notes. Even whether it's earnings, whatever, you have to read it all. You poisoned the well.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. Instead of saying read this piece in the New York Times, tell me what you think, or whatever it was. Washington Post? I don't remember.
I didn't tell you to read that one. I told you to read the one from the Wall Street Journal.
I just said I don't know which one it was in. I just said that.
But I didn't call the one from the Wall Street Journal a fluff piece. I called the one that was a fluff piece.
And then you said, what? Then read the fluff piece.
No, I said
that's poisoning the well.
I said, and then there was the release of the fluff piece, which generally happens whenever there's criticism of Tesla. A bunch of these fluff pieces hit all at once, and it's insane. So I would say it was a fluff piece. It had no news content in it.
So I was thinking the political corner will just be called Sports Corner. So tell us about the rally in front of the NFL for some millionaire, I guess, who doesn't have a job or something. I don't get it. What the heck?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is for the podcast or not, but my opinion on that is he has every right to kneel. And they have every right to not hire him.
Bingo.
And that's it.
That's it.
That's the end of it.
That's it. On reddit.com, there are many cryptocurrency forums, and Path Trading Partners crypto education videos get posted there. And we want to thank everybody for subscribing to the channel. But this was one of the comments on Reddit. And this was a video that we had made a mistake in the editing toward the end, and the outro walked on top of what Mike was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, out of 400 some odd videos, we have one with a little bit of an audio error. But we got called out on it. So here's what this gentleman said. For God's sake, let Mike finish what he was saying. It was probably interesting, if a little quiet. I, for one, love someone converting readable charts into verbal descriptions of up and down movement. So soothing. And technical analysis that eschews any form of future price predictions is such a clever notion. More, please.
Look, I'll say this about our cryptocurrency videos. We trade cryptocurrencies in a specific way and give it to you responsibly. So what we do in those videos is we say, if it goes here, it's probably going to reverse here. If it goes down here, you can accumulate here. And you have to adjust that information to the way that you trade. Because there's just no way that we can tell you it's going here right now, and this is what we're doing.
Well,
I'm gonna kneel for that guy's comment.
You're talking over me, Bob. Bob, you're talking.
I'm gonna kneel for that guy's comment.
You're talking over me. They want to hear my docile technical analysis, soothing voice.
I don't remember.
Trading Zen. It's trading Zen. Okay.
So on a side note, let me know what that was, because I don't. I mean, obviously, if I put something over Mike, that'd be strange, because the end is always me.
It was an edit. You had some audio thing on top of it, and I had already posted, but so I wasn't going to tell you to redo it.
No, it's just weird because the end is always me.
No, there's another take. My audio is a little delayed, so I'm sounding stupid.
It's okay.
There's like your first take of that outro that's walking on top of Mike before your second take of that outro is in there. That's how I think it happened. Is you didn't delete the first one or started that early.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yep. No, I knew what happened. It's funny. That's the only way some people are going to comment is because they have a reason. Like, oh, you made a little mistake. I'm going to show up, and say how much I love Mike.
Finally got it right. Everybody loves me.
Actually, Greg from Dallas wanted to meet you when he was in town. I'm like, why? He goes, because he's got such a funny voice. He goes, my favorite part of your videos are, thank you, Bob.
Well, fine, I won't thank you anymore. I'll just say.
He said it's his favorite part.
Well, I'm not going to do that anymore then.
Why wouldn't you do somebody's favorite part?
Because that's sarcastic.
If our Reddit fan said, well, you're doing what our Reddit fan said, and you're still going to do it, that was sarcastic.
I was pretending to be positive.
You just never say you're right, it's me, do you? You've never said those words.
What?
You've never said you're right, it was me.
Yes, I have. I think I said that once.
Yeah, you said to Julie, not to me or Stafford.
Why would I say that? Your ego's already inflated enough. You don't need it more.
Yes, I do. That's how I subsist.
I like your new TV show. I like it.
Which one?
The one with the...
Oh, that Twitter thing?
Well, the active trader. I like that.
Yeah. I'm enjoying it, except I'm always running from the train to get there at 9, and I'm also... Every single video, I've had sweat going down the back of my neck.
Maybe you should stop wearing your ascot then.
My what?
Ascot around your neck, so it makes your neck sweat.
I am totally going to wear an ascot when winter comes. God, that would be great. I tried to crack a joke in this morning's video, and they said, yeah, take that out. Just do market stuff. I'm like, okay, but you're making a mistake.
What was the joke?
Nothing. I was just making fun of the Fed calling their conference a symposium.
Yeah, what's happened with Walmart? Walmart, Google.
They're partnering. Walmart and Google partner to challenge Amazon.
That's amazing.
Walmart's joining Google Express. They're going to be tying it into the Google's, virtual assistant voice ordering stuff, so you can order and reorder things through Walmart, and it will get delivered. So it's the whole thing is to give Walmart voice ordering through that Google Home thing. Be able to speak to Google's verbal assistant, and which is not just in your Google Home, but it can be in your phones, anything Google makes, like voice-controlled speakers, and then So Walmart's sharing your purchase history with Google, which I get Google will love because they're all about those analytics. But then Walmart gets to tap into this whole voice ordering stuff, just like Amazon has the Alexa and everything else. Order me this, and if you've ordered it before, it just orders it for you. So now that's the Walmart and Google, and then Uber. Did you see Uber's teaming up with Walmart for grocery deliveries?
Tell the Fed, call Jackson Hole, tell them there is never going to be inflation ever again.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. Hold on. I'm building. I've constructed this. It's like I've put the basement in now on first floor, and then it's going sky high in a second. But first, we got to do it. Uber. So Walmart. So sometimes if you order, you head to walmart.com/grocery on your phone or desktop. You pick out the items you want to buy. You put it in your basket. You pay. At some point, you'll be able to voice order it, and that you like it, and the time you like it delivered. Walmart's personal shoppers will gather your items, hail an Uber, which will then deliver your groceries. You have to buy at least $30 worth of groceries, and delivery fee is $9.95. It's rolling out in Phoenix and Tampa, Florida, and they're expanding it to Dallas and Orlando. Now, you can't really just specify you want it delivered with Uber. So they might do Uber. At other time, it might be their own Walmart drivers and trucks. Remember how we said they're going to do that thing with possible employees. But, Uber is going to be one of their options. Like, hey, the person wants it in an hour. They just ordered $50 worth of stuff. I'm calling Uber. Uber's dropping it off.
Love it.
So you got that. So Walmart going with Uber, going with Google. They're joining forces to take on Amazon, and then we have I just hope you can't see it in the show notes, Bob, but those cars with the fruits and vegetables on top. I just hope that my stuff does not show up with one of those cars. By the way, the Amazon deal for Whole Foods was cleared by the FTC this week. It's now going to close purportedly on Monday, and they just announced yesterday Amazon is cutting Whole Foods prices on Monday. And then we had, again, Grocergeddon Part 2. I mean, all right. First off, you could trim Whole Foods prices, and Whole Foods is not going to be a discount grocery store, all right?
No.
But like when I go in there and buy the $10 jar of pickles, you could cut that to $8, and it's still an expensive jar of pickles.
It's good pickles.
Yeah, they're good pickles. But, it's interesting because, we had all this. We had the groceries. Even Walmart got smoked yesterday. It opened at 80.61 after they released this Amazon's cutting prices at Whole Foods. It traded down to 77.85. Just boom. Like, it's already a huge discounter. Whole Foods has got to go a long way to compete with them, but Whole Foods will specifically roll out price cuts on, quote, a selection of best-selling grocery staples across its stores, such as organic avocados, bananas, brown eggs. You notice they're brown eggs. We got to take note of that. Baby kale, apples, and rotisserie chicken, as well as 85% lean ground beef, butter, almond butter, and more.
That's good chicken.
It is good chicken, and it's only the 85% lean ground beef, so you don't be buying your 90% ground beef.
This is news. Grocery store has food.
Yeah, no,
11.
All right, because I was at Whole Foods the other day, and I went in because I need an avocado, but their organic avocados were $2.99 each. I went literally like 2 minutes away and got an organic avocado for $1.99. So they have a lot of room to slice their prices without affecting other grocery stores yet.
Don't trouble us with your rich guy problems.
What, an avocado?
But then Whole Foods will be full of steerage class.
Really? No, but that's the thing. Like Amazon's now, this ties into your deflationary comment. So
yeah.
But this is an overreaction again in the grocery space. Like, yes, it's Whole Foods is going to get more competitive pricing, but it's not going to shut Walmart out of the grocery game.
No, and we've talked about this before. This is essentially Amazon and Walmart. Walmart's the only possible competitor right now to Amazon. They are. And they are doubling down with this Google thing, and I love it because all it means is better prices for us, better prices for us. Now, the greater effect on the broader effect on the economy isn't really clear because, like, GDP is a combination of productivity and demographics, and both are going in the wrong direction, right? So even without this, without these sort of structural deflationary forces, getting GDP like we used to is going to be hard. But when you add in this, all it does is it makes it ever so slightly easier because I don't know why the Fed wants to raise rates under this. I'm trying to understand it. I watched an interview with Stanley Fischer this morning, and I'll tell you what, that guy should be Fed chair if Yellen leaves because he is a thoughtful guy. He comes from a business background. He's not a PhD economist, but he just is so thoughtful about the way he looks at the markets. And it's just like the structural problems we have in the economy, the only thing that helps it are lower prices so that people's standard of living doesn't go down. So it actually, I mean, it's obviously not a one-to-one equation, but it's actually really good news if we don't have inflation, given the structural changes in the way we do things.
Is there a Rite Aid MySpace merger on the horizon?
Rite Aid MySpace.
You mean what's left of Rite Aid after Walgreens took over the good parts of Rite Aid?
Yeah. Rite Aid is merging with MySpace, and they're going to reenact Napster.
Really?
Napster back. Yeah. They're bringing Napster back.
So that's in the dead and dying products division.
Yeah.
We actually have a something in Food and Fashion Nook this week.
What we got?
The world's hottest pepper is spicy enough to kill you. The Dragon Breath chili. It's now the world's spiciest pepper. Clocks in at 2.48 million on the Scoville scale, dwarfing its nearest competitor, the Carolina Reaper, which comes in at 2.2 million. This pepper, cultivated by Mike Smith from Nottingham University, is 22 times as hot as the now innocent-seeming habanero and nearly 300 times spicier than the jalapeno. And it hasn't been consumed yet by humans out of the fear that there's a lethal amount of capsaicin. It could singe one's airways, cause them to close up, and cause anaphylactic shock.
So, who measured? I like how
You can actually measure it.
Yeah, I don't know how you measure the Scoville unit. So.
Well, you don't measure the Scoville index by eating it and then putting down like
right down. That's about 2.6.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So the previous top pepper was the Carolina Reaper, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And if you type Carolina Reaper into YouTube, you will see hundreds of videos, some people having to go to the hospital because they ate too many of these nasty peppers. So if it's hotter than the Carolina Reaper, it's now the top king. It can be definitely dangerous, for sure.
So
YouTube videos are coming.
So public service, don't eat it. No, the reason this is developed was to treat people who are allergic to anesthetics. As the pepper is so hot, it can be used to numb the skin. So it's not.
My mind was going toward, so when they're allergic to anesthetic, you give them a pepper, they pass out, and you can do surgery. Here, eat this.
I remember I did one of those stupid hot pepper eating things, like my vocal cords were paralyzed for a while.
Thank the maker.
Really? Then I can't say thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
And all right, look at this. I'm tying in food and fashion nook with cryptocurrency segment because we got IBM, Kroger, and Walmart and others are teaming up to improve food safety with blockchains, using blockchain crypto technology to sort of track the life cycle of food being delivered through the ecosystem. So they're working on a bunch of these blockchain projects that would track the food supply chain from producer to consumer and help figure out where there's problems or there's hitches in the food delivery ecosystem, because every sort of transaction is tracked within the whole blockchain. So now they're applying this crypto technology to food delivery.
Wow.
Interesting. I thought that was sort of interesting. You know, it's
I do, because Yeah, blockchain. I started watching a documentary on cryptocurrencies. I only got through about 15 minutes of it because I started watching it on the train. But I can't wait to get through this thing because it's just so interesting. And when you talk about the original DigiCash card from the 90s, I had no idea this stuff all started like in the 90s.
Walmart's VP for food safety said, quote, "It allows all participants to share information rapidly with confidence across a strong, trusted network." That's why they're incorporating this blockchain technology. It said, quote, "Blockchain technology enables a new era of end-to-end transparency in the global food system, equivalent to shining a light on food ecosystem participants that will further promote responsible actions and behaviors." So that's, since it's completely trackable and you can't sort of fudge the transactions on the blockchain, so that's what they're looking to do with it.
These open ledger stuff, man, it's so cool. It's just going to affect so many institutions.
Yep. It's already.
It's the dismantling of big government. It's so cool. I mean, it could be, obviously.
Well, we'll
see if government allows that.
We'll get into government later. But first, we haven't talked about drones in a while. Now, drones are officially delivering packages in Iceland's capital city, which I know how to pronounce it. I just can't pronounce it because I got a funny voice.
Reykjavik.
Yes. So drone logistics startup Flytrex has teamed up with Iceland's main online retailer, AHA, to launch drone courier service in where, Bob?
Reykjavik.
So the drones are carrying food across a river in the city, cutting delivery time from 25 minutes to 4. But it's actually in production now. So
are they working on the thing where they throw the toilet paper in the bathroom window? That's what I'm waiting for.
I think that's part of Tesla's autonomous driving system. Well,
that and self-driving cars with a toilet in it.
What?
No. I can't wait to program in. Take me to work and then grab a magazine and go in the bathroom.
Dude, it's not a self-driving car. It's not a self-driving car with a toilet in it. It's a toilet that has wheels.
How about a self-driving toilet?
What do you want, a self-driving porta potty?
I mean, where are you more comfortable as a guy?
No, I'm not. I'm out.
I'm not comfortable if my porta potty's driving me around town.
I love it. Checking my hair in the mirror. It's all good.
Well, you're on the potty.
There's other things that happen in a bathroom, Mike.
Yo, but okay, you're.
It's one of the more comfortable chairs. They call it the throne.
Surprisingly, this all stays in the show.
Do you have anything about crude oil this week?
I do.
Can you tell me, because I had to relieve the stress that you just put on my brain.
Hurricane Harvey, which became Tropical Storm Harvey and then became Hurricane Harvey again, is literally bearing down on Houston, Corpus Christi, through the Gulf. And as it became a hurricane, so when Hurricane, Tropical Storm, Hurricane, the second time around when it became a hurricane, crude oil actually plummeted. And the reason is, for the plummet, is that this is affecting refinery more than drilling. It's not like this is going into the Permian Basin or the Eagle Ford. It's going into the heart of refinery country. Now, we're entering the season where refineries have to go through what they call turnaround. So refinery turnaround is when they shut down parts of the refinery and they reduce what they call throughputs, which is the amount of crude that goes through the refinery and gets put out to market, throughputs. They reduce the percentage of throughput in order to retool their refineries to change from summer blend gasoline to winter blend gasoline. So it happens obviously twice a year, right? We're approaching that time anyway. So what some of these companies were saying they were going to do is they're evacuating their refinery operations because this is a tremendous storm. The storm is expected to have winds around 120 miles an hour, but even once those die down after it hits landfall, there's supposed to be somewhere in the range of 25 inches of rain or more. And Texas is a floodplain. So it's going to, or it has the potential to, shut down refinery operations for an extended period. And by extended period, I mean a few days. I don't mean, 2-3 weeks. I mean, it could be 3-5 days. So what's going to happen then is the refineries are not going to be receiving crude oil, which means Cushing, Oklahoma, and the other storage sites may start to see builds of crude oil. So that's why crude oil was falling on that news, because this is more of a refinery event than a crude oil event. So that's what was happening in crude oil. Second thing is rig counts are important today. Rig counts will be out about an hour and a half from when we're filming this show, when we're recording this show. And in the last 6 weeks, we're flat on rig counts. We were up 2, down 1, up 2, down 1, up 3, down 5. So we were essentially up 7 and down 7. We're flat. Today, to me, will indicate to the market whether this is now flattening and then an upswing. If you haven't seen our rotation zone videos on YouTube, Mike can explain that on YouTube. I promise not to talk over him. We can find out, or at least get a little bit of a beginning to an insight as to whether we're now starting to trend down in rig counts or up. Or if this was just a flattening before we went back up. Rig counts are a contextual piece of data, and right now, U.S. production is still increasing. But if you see rig counts turn down and then you combine that with a slight fall off in production from the U.S., you could see an upswing in prices, even though we're coming out of summer driving season. There you go.
What were you saying?
All right, well, there's our crude update. Since we won't be needing any more crude oil because of all the electric cars.
By the way, it does affect natural gas as well. There's a lot of natural gas production and refining in that area as well.
Fisker is back with their luxury electric vehicle debuting.
Okay, Fisker's not back. This is another scam.
Was Fisker here?
Yeah, there was actually a dealer around.
No, I know,
area.
but like was by its back. It's like it's not, it's not LL Cool J.
No, it's not.
Back.
It was never here in the first place.
It was never a hit, right?
I saw so many videos of people who bought them who just they're terrible cars.
Beautiful.
Right, then they went bankrupt, and now they're back. They're back.
Same thing. The Karma. Are they remaking the Karma?
No, they have a new. They have the luxury E-Motion sedan.
Yeah, it's another Karma.
It looks pretty good. So
they're beautiful cars, but I heard they were garbage.
Garbage.
Well, no, the new one, the Emotion, we'll see. They're taking pre-orders. The car isn't scheduled to ship till 2019. It's priced at $129,000, and they're working on a more affordable version priced around $34,000 to take aim at the Tesla Model 3.
So this was Tesla before Tesla was Tesla, right?
Wait,
I remember seeing a Fisker Karma. I remember seeing a Fisker. Fisker. I remember seeing a Fisker Karma before I even knew that there was. Well, when Tesla just had the Roadster, and there's still one that drives around the city of Chicago. I see it every once in a while. There's still a Fisker Karma that drives around the city of Chicago. I see it all the time.
I think Elon wanted to make a real car company, and Fisker just wants to design a cool-looking car and he doesn't care if there's a bunch of bank fraud involved with it,
Gotcha.
So whatever.
Where does the guy get his Karma serviced?
No.
Well, GM bought Bob Lutz bought Karma. Then he was going to put Corvette engines into them because they had all these hollowed-out bodies that they bought from this
very cool.
company.
Very cool bodies.
So
it's a good-looking car.
Yeah.
Looks like Racer X's car.
Oh, Racer X.
He was my favorite.
Racer X.
He was Speed Racer's brother.
What was the name of the chimp?
Bobo. Nope.
Bobo.
No, well, it wasn't Bobo. It was.
It was something.
Was it Spritle or something like that?
Spritle. I see.
It was something like that, or Sprite, or Spritle, or I don't know.
Are you really going to make me Google Speed Racer? Because I haven't seen Speed Racer in forever.
It wasn't a good show anyway.
It was a wonderful show when you were very young.
You watch 8 episodes, you're like, these are all the same.
Well, yes, I didn't say it wasn't.
Every episode is the same.
I didn't say it wasn't. Rex Racer to Spritle Racer. Yep, and Chim Chim.
Chim. So who was Spritle? The kid?
That's his little brother.
Yeah,
Trixie was a girlfriend.
Chim.
The Mach 5 was the car. Racer X, whose real name is Rex Racer Jr. Very creative there. Rex Racer becoming Racer X.
Wasn't that anime?
That did come from Japan, yeah.
It did, right?
Yeah, it was built for that market.
Gotcha.
Early anime, for sure. Unlike Robotech, which there's a big lawsuit going on who owns the actual characters for Robotech or Harmony Gold or FASA. It's actually in the news. But anyway,
only one of that I've heard of is Harmony Gold.
Yeah. They did.
Why is that?
They did the robot. They bought 3 shows in the 80s from Japan, and they edited them together and wrote great stories. And they own the original designs of all these mechs, right? These robots. And those original designs that Harmony Gold owns the license from Japan. Another company who does Mech Warrior video games and stuff, and games and stuff, and they have stolen all that. So there's a huge lawsuit that's going on, that's been going on, I guess, for a decade, about these robots from the 80s, from this children's cartoon that was nothing like Speed Racer. Much better.
Who owns Voltron?
I don't know.
You don't know, Stafford?
Yeah, there's not a lot of controversy in Voltron.
What? There should be controversy.
I think there's a Voltron coming out. There's actually some new Voltron reboot.
Is there?
Yeah, there is.
I love the 5 lions coming together.
I think the 50 vehicle Voltron was my favorite because Voltron was very much like Speed Racer. Every episode's the same.
They are. Next, you're going to insult GoBots.
I never watched any of those. I was never into the robot thing.
What'd you watch? G.I. Joe?
What did I watch? Well, I mean, I watched a lot of Marvel and some DC. You know, I watched a lot of Spider-Man, and actually every Spider-Man episode was the same, too. So I watched a lot of the old Spider-Man cartoon. I watched Speed Racer. I just never got into the robot thing.
Oh, well.
Didn't. I had a bunch of like superhero action figures, which, you know, were dolls for boys.
Robotech was about love, and Robotech was about falling in love and relationships and marriage and dealing with the fact that aliens have invaded Earth.
I find it so amusing now that so many cartoons are actually made for adults and the kids just like the colorful moving computer graphics. Has anyone seen that food one? Oh, this is hilarious. I'm watching a Fisker get towed right now. It's on a flatbed. I'm not kidding. It's going down Jackson right now on a flatbed.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. Fisker breaks.
You know, there's a big article yesterday. Elon won't be doing interviews with Wall Street Journal anytime soon because
he's mad.
You know, he's really mad at them now.
Because
he was mad at them before. He's really mad at them now. They had a very interesting article. Tesla's push to build self-driving cars sparks dissent among its engineers. Elon Musk's ambitious goals for autopilot technology has prompted safety warnings and resignations. So it's a whole article, and anybody who's interested in Tesla should actually check out the article. But there's been a lot of autopilot teams resigning. Because it's one of the things that's been sold. I think this is an Achilles heel, actually, for Tesla. Because in their documentation, everything, when you bought the car, if you enabled this, I mean, they said that it's already got all the technology embedded to become fully self-driving. And, you know, if they don't, we've touched on this, they might have to upgrade it or something else. But a number of these engineers have resigned over fears that the car actually isn't capable of that with the current technology on board, and that it's just not ready for it's now nowhere close to prime time deployment ready. So and they keep churning through the key leaders of the development team who just worked there for a while and then, I'm done. So very fascinating with Tesla. But now we can get into the Tesla's long-haul electric truck aims for 200 to 300 miles on a charge. So the Wall Street Journal article came out, then like 2 hours after that, this hit all the tech sites. It's a Reuters article, but then all the tech sites lit up with, look, we have information on the long-haul truck that's going to do 200 miles. And for anybody also interested in the long-haul truck, Wired magazine back in June did a very interesting analysis on battery weight to actually do a long-haul truck like at 600 miles and how the full capacity that you could drive on the highway system, you couldn't actually put cargo on it because it would all be taken up. The whole weight of the truck would be taken up by the batteries.
But aren't these trucks to ship batteries across the country?
The truck is the battery. So you could put like my organic avocado on it and deliver it. The one avocado, but this is so Tesla's, and this isn't officially from Tesla, but there's electronic prototype will be capable of traveling at the low end of the what transportation veterans consider the long haul trucking sort of category, which starts at 200. So they're saying 200 to 300 miles. Roughly 30% of U.S. trucking drivers are regional trips of 100 to 200 miles. So that's what they'll be targeting. These will only have a day cab, no nighttime stuff. You're not going to sleep over somewhere. So currently, the average diesel costs around $1,200. The cost of battery alone for a big rig capable of going 200 to 400 miles carrying a typical payload is more than that, is more than the $1,200. So we'll see how it all plays out. But, that's the space they're aiming for, this $200, I keep saying dollar, the 200-mile sort of space to deliver stuff. I could see possibly, we've talked about this, what was it was a few weeks ago with that electric truck that they're going to do autonomous, the people remotely drive it over, was it Norway or something? Bob, do you remember that one?
I don't.
It's solely designed to do the short haul trip with people driving it remotely or driving itself autonomously until it gets close to town.
Yeah, I remember the story, but I don't remember where it was.
Yeah, that was somewhere over in Europe, but I think that actually has a little more. That makes a little more sense than these, just based off cost. But we'll see. That's the space they're going for. I could see like Walmart's or Amazon's that would have like a constant run between two major distribution centers. Like maybe the distribution center close to Chicago. And where's the other Walmart or Amazon distribution center west of here, Bob?
Well, I don't know.
There's one west of the city, like a whiles. So that could be something where these electric, where there's a set route, they're going every day, and there's a charging stations at either side. And once you get down to the autonomous, that would be interesting. But just for other companies to use this, you have to have the charging network in place and everything else, and just the cost. I don't see it economical yet, but we'll see how that works out.
If you transport wiffle balls, like a huge cab full of wiffle balls.
Thank you, Stafford.
That's nothing.
So we're going to revolutionize the wiffle ball delivery industry.
I think so.
And by the way, the Boring Company, as of this morning, Elon Musk, this just came out, Elon Musk's Boring Company receives green light to extend 2-mile-long tunnel under L.A.
Didn't he say he had approval for Washington? Was it Washington or New York?
No, he said that was his whole, he said he had verbal approval on that whole East Coast network. Now he actually has written approval in L.A. to extend his 2-mile tunnel under L.A. So
California is crazy.
I'm sorry, dollar index is down 0.5%. I'm kind of like, Yellen's speech is not being taken as hawkish at all.
No, it's all the things flying by on the news feed. It's very dovish.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting to me because the other guys weren't talking that way. Esther George didn't talk that way. Stanley Fischer didn't talk. No, not Stanley Fischer. Robert, what's Kaplan's first name? Dallas Fed President Kaplan. I always forget his first name. I'm looking it up. You don't have to. Dallas Fed President
Robert.
Steve Kaplan. Again, why don't I remember Robert?
It's not like your name is anywhere close to Robert.
He just had such thoughtful comments about how the economy was doing well, and even though there wasn't inflation, the conditions were good for inflation to develop, and just a great interview this morning on Bloomberg. Yellen just kind of moved away from all that, and same thing with Esther George. Stock market's not flying though; it's up. It's not flying. Transports are up 1.25%.
Well, that's because we have the electric truck coming out.
That's what it is. But NASDAQ is down 0.25% as the speech is sifting its way through. The Dow's up 0.25%. S&B's up not even 0.25%, a little more than a tenth. And yields are down. 10-year note yields are down.
Well, there you go. Yields are down because the bonds are up.
Because bond is up. Yeah, because bond is up.
Yep. Still, I've been tracking the double bottom that was put in and triggered back in February. No, sorry, it was triggered back in April. It's still climbing slowly towards.
In what, Mikey? S&B?
In the notes. No, the double bottom.
The 10-year notes. Yeah, the 10-year notes. I remember that.
And I think we had one in, it was sloppier, but we had one in the 30-year bonds, which both these already hit their stop reduction tone, but they're moving back up to a stop reduction area again. But before we get to that, cryptocurrencies.
Nice.
Let's see. Ethereum announces Metropolis hard fork coming late September. So I guess we're going to hard fork in Ethereum. The hard fork was widely anticipated after the Ethereum roadmap for 2017 was released earlier this year. The map indicated that the coming release would contain some major upgrades to the platform. The anticipated upgrades are why they're going to hard fork. First, they're going to increase anonymity with they have a ZK-snarks, or zero knowledge proofs. Users will be able to perform anonymous transactions at higher levels than in the past. Second, programming and small contracts will be made far easier with the new upgrade, relieving some of the pressure on current programmers. Third, masking for security enthusiasts will allow users to determine the address for which they have a private key. This will increase security on the network, even against quantum computer hacking. Finally, the upgrade includes a difficulty bomb intended to make mining exponentially more difficult. The bomb is designed to be an intermediate step in the transaction from proof of work to proof of stake on the network. This has often been referred to as the Ethereum Ice Age. So we have a hard fork in Ethereum coming up.
A hard fork and an ice age.
Yeah, it's a hard fork and an ice age. So we're going to have to see if Ethereum...
Do we know the names of the two sides yet or no?
No, it's not been named yet. Well, I mean, somebody's going to... We already have Ethereum Classic because Ethereum forked before. When they were hacked, they had to fork it off, or fork it over. So we already have an Ethereum and an Ethereum Classic, but Ethereum Classic isn't traded that much. But now we're going to have sort of a planned hard fork. We're going to have to see if that reacts the same way to Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, or how this deals with the trading and what I get. What I'm seeing is everybody, I think, is just going to gravitate to the new one because of all the benefits.
But is it true that, so, I don't even know if I'm going to ask this correctly. So the Ethereum blockchain is popular in use, correct? The technology.
Yeah, Ethereum is more than just a crypto. It's a whole sort of development network. That's why you can do these ICOs off of it, the initial coin offerings and everything.
So what's forking? The actual currency, or is it some two chains of the technology, or what?
It's forking at the technology level, but then you have the currency aspect, which is also forking. So because the whole chain's forking, so... I don't see the old one, though. I mean, it'll stick around, but I don't see anybody really doing anything with it. Sort of, now you have Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and they have, and again, you might get another fork in Bitcoin. So that's, though, debating, all right, which one's really going to take over, or do they both have a place? I don't see that being the same issue with Ethereum. I think everything's going to gravitate to the new one.
Okay, gotcha.
So I think it's going to be different, but we'll have to see, because a lot of this stuff's momentum driven, and it's one of the things we're finding in this crypto space. There's core technologies that are going to stick around. There's core of these cryptos that are going to stick around, and there's some that are just trading on hype and momentum now that will fall away or will have to be split off, and then
redeveloped. They're just not. There's no purpose for them other than being a momentum trading mechanism at the point. There's no long-term purpose, is what I'm sort of saying. So you're going to have a basket that's going to evolve out of however many there are that actually have a purpose and a lifespan from technology, and that they actually have a usable purpose. And then there's some of these that'll fall away that were just a flavor of the year in the crypto space that eventually die out because there's no real lasting benefit to them. That's how I'm looking at it.
There has to be differentiation in technology or security or something.
Or like Ethereum has it's not just a currency, it's a whole development platform.
Right.
And you have things like Monero, which has the complete anonymity going for it. You have Bitcoin Cash versus Bitcoin, and ones you can do faster technology, faster transaction times. Then you have SegWit 2 holding place now so then you have Litecoin and all their benefits from Litecoin, and then you have IOTA, which is the Internet of Things coin geared around the whole Internet of Things and the interoperability between internet enabled technologies, and that's that whole sort of backbone piece of it, which has, because we're all going with Internet of Things now, so that might be a lasting currency, tradable crypto that has another bigger purpose to it. That's what we're seeing now, and that's what I think is going to have to shake out over time. Meanwhile, some of these are more investable, meaning I'd build a core position around them because I don't think they're going anywhere, and you want to keep, sort of building a portfolio around pullbacks and trade in and out of it. Other ones are just, I don't want to really keep a core position in it. I just want to take advantage of some of this momentum.
Right.
And trade it like a high-flying momentum stock that, I don't want to put my life savings in it because it could disappear.
Right.
So, Estonia. Did you see Estonia news this week? I know you follow Estonia regularly.
Yeah, I get the Estonia Post, which is the liberal Estonia magazine.
Fake news.
Please leave that in. That's funny.
So, Estonia, and if people don't follow, it's a European country. A small country in Northern Europe. They just came out with the idea this week of potentially raising money to issue a new token or a cryptocurrency called EST coins. They're looking to do an ICO, an initial coin offering, to raise money for the nation. They have not fully committed to it just yet, but they're doing a white paper outlining the value of the tokens and what the investment would be used for. The government's already asking for feedback in the technology world, and Ethereum founder, whose name I cannot pronounce, is an advisor to the project. The money raised for the offering could be used to fund a jointly managed fund by the government and outside private companies. The fund would be used to invest in new technologies for the public sector, as well as to invest in venture capital into Estonian companies founded by both natives and e-residents. Estonia is really cool because you can actually start an Estonian company without ever stepping foot in the country. You can essentially become an e-resident and start a e-company in Estonia.
Why haven't we done that?
So
let's start a Chicago popcorn company. Let's start it in Estonia.
I'm sure it will take many hours to do that. Do we have these hours available?
We do not.
Resources?
We do not.
That's another thing that could be delivered by the Stafford. It's not just wiffle balls. We could deliver popcorn.
Why don't we do an e-popcorn company where we deliver in Reykjavik?
No, we want to do electric vehicles in Estonia. We'll only take payments in e-coins.
Mike, you're sounding like an idiot.
Yeah, I don't know why you're opposed to the drone. Are they not electric? How about the e-truck delivers it to the drone site? Then are you on board?
Can we just deliver it underground in our e-vehicle?
No, I want Reykjavik.
You just wanted to say Reykjavik.
I love saying Reykjavik.
Now I got a question. What does this mean? We have the Toronto Swell Crypto Conference coming up in September, and they just announced their keynote speakers, Dr. Ben Bernanke.
I really, and I'm not being sarcastic, I really want to know what he thinks of that. Because that would be a money that he could not, he's basically the creator of quantitative easing.
Right, he's Helicopter Ben.
Yeah, he's the father of quantitative easing. He's the father of easy money, of print it, put it out there. So I'm just super interested in what he thinks crypto is.
He'd have to have the crypto with no cap on the mining of it. Just be, go mine more of it.
I think cryptocurrencies are great as long as the Federal Reserve can mine an unlimited amount.
Yeah.
Then I love them.
So this is, I think this is based about Ripple. Remember we talked about Ripple, and that was the one that was really targeted by the banks and everything. But recently, our customers requested that Ripple bring together leaders in banking and blockchain who are committed to changing the way the world moves money today. Challenge accepted. Today, we're pleased to announce Swell, the future is here. The place in Toronto. Oh, sorry, it's October 16th to 18th, and you'll have Ben Bernanke, and your other one is Sir Tim Berners-Lee, inventor of the World Wide Web.
I thought it was Al Gore.
No, it's Sir Tim Berners-Lee, and it's lucky it's not taking place in this country because he's got a Lee in his hyphen thing, so he'd probably have to get.
And he programmed that on a Steve Jobs Next computer, a cube, one of the original cubes. The cube built the internet.
So he is the real inventor of the internet?
We got to give Steve Jobs some credit because Tim Berners-Lee used his machine when he was fired from Apple, and then him and Ross Perot threw in with Canon and built this amazing computer. And that operating system eventually became what the Mac OS became. I mean, we still use that every day, so.
Yes, we do. So that's, by the way, here's the big Achilles heel in cryptos. It was announced that Australia is now cracking down. We've talked a little bit about this, but the regulators are cracking down on Bitcoin under the guise of money laundering. So they're looking to regulate it more and more. That's the biggest problem with this.
I was watching a lot of videos. Government banks, big banks, the IMF. These people think that anyone who uses cryptocurrency is a criminal, and that's bad. That they think.
Yeah, that is bad. It's really bad.
And yes, there are people who, when you have a somewhat anonymous transaction mechanism, it will attract criminals. But also,
We're talking about the International Monetary Fund. They don't do strange banking. Come on, I mean, they're the biggest bad boys on the block.
Well, no, all the banks do everything by the book. Come on. It's not like Australia. Have you been following all their banking problems? They've had banking problems after banking problems for the last 6 months, and none of it's related to Bitcoin, but now they're looking at going after Bitcoin, and none of their banks have been punished.
With all the cryptocurrency excitement that's been going on in this sort of phase of it, the GPU market, as of this moment, is in complete disarray because all these new hot graphics processing units came out, and they don't want Bitcoin miners to buy up all the stock, and they want gamers to get them, and they got to play with you got to buy a bundle in order to get the card. It's really.
They're not getting rid of cryptos.
No, they can't. They're just going to.
No way.
They could. What if they say every transaction that if you're in this country, every time you transaction it has to be reported?
Yeah, I mean that's when the price falls, right? I mean that's when the value plummets.
Because if they say, all right, every transaction you do has to be reported to the government in some way, shape, or form, then some of the benefits. And they don't have to specify a coin, and whatever so even if you're in Monero, which is pretty much completely anonymous, look, if you don't report it, you've now committed a felony.
Yeah, that's why I'm a fan of Monero right now, because I think that's when everyone, and everybody listening understand I'm a novice, But it just seems to me like the untrackable one would pull in the most people who would be willing to commit a federal offense because it would be harder to get caught. Not impossible.
What's so funny is this is where you actually will create a bigger black market by trying to regulate it more.
Right.
You know, it's just like when you up the cigarette tax. People trade in, you know, there's more buy my box carton of cigarettes out of the back of this truck.
Right.
You know, because, hey, there's now a market for it.
It just always shows you how essentially the governments are complicit in these things because you cannot ignore the facts of what goes on in these situations. And they pretend like they do ignore it. You know, they pretend like they're trying to fix a problem that they essentially create and augment.
Oh, and then we have SEC suspends trading of publicly listed Bitcoin firm as Canadian regulators crack down. That happened yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a OTC, what was it? First Bitcoin Capital Corp. It was a Canada-based firm, operates a number of cryptocurrency-related business lines, including a Bitcoin exchange and network of ATMs. It was publicly traded, and the SEC shut down that. They're pushing for regulation of all this stuff, and it's just going to get more and more and more. So that's the biggest Achilles heel to these things right now. Not that they'll go away, but you could see major price disruption should the crackdown get more severe.
Right.
People aren't worried about the crime. They're worried about that this blockchain technology means that to commit fraud will be very difficult. And they're worried about that, whoever they is.
Anything else in the crypto segments?
No, sir.
Before we get to U.S. economy segment, who's going to win the fight?
Oh, God. You know,
McGregor. No.
There's a very little chance of McGregor winning for two reasons.
Holyfield.
That made me laugh. There's very little chance of McGregor winning. He has a puncher's chance, just like any puncher. The issue with this whole thing is it's hard for me to see any way for McGregor to win unless he knocks Mayweather out. And you're talking about probably the best defensive fighter, for sure, of this era, if not all time. So it's going to be very difficult for him to land, even though he's older, right? Now, having said all that, the handicap is, of course, that Mayweather is 40 and hasn't fought in 2 years. So that's where you handicap it. But Vegas still has him at minus 600, right? For any of you that don't bet, you've got to bet 600 to make 100, right? I can't see the boxing establishment in a boxing ring, in a boxing sanctioned fight, letting an MMA guy beat a boxer. So unless he knocks him out, it's a no-brainer that any decision goes Mayweather's way.
Yeah.
Plus, that would set up another rematch, which would be $100 million again.
This is a great fight for MMA. This is a bad fight for boxing.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, these are boxing judges, boxing sanctioned. They're not going to let Mayweather lose this. I mean, it's still
unless he stays at the strip club too long.
It's still when he owns the place. He does. He owns a strip club called Girl Collection. It's a chain of strip clubs. Mayweather owns them.
That was all that was flying by. He was there till like 4 a.m.
Yeah. I don't buy that for a second. That's all hype. I think Mayweather's training like crazy. He's just not letting the cameras film him doing it like he usually does.
So is everybody all in on Mayweather? Mayweather?
It's again, I don't care which one of these. This is a disgrace. As someone who boxed, this is a disgrace to me. Canelo Alvarez against Triple G should be getting this kind of hype. This, to me, is just a complete show. They even made up a belt, the WBC money belt.
Oh boy, I'm going for McGregor though.
They're fighting for a belt, the WBC money belt. A friggin' disgrace.
What does the winner get?
The WBC money belt.
No, they don't have any money?
A concussion?
No, of course they have money. I think the winner gets $30 million and the loser gets 15, but they both get a cut of the gate, which is expected to be, of all of the gate, and by that I mean pay-per-view, everything. Mayweather will make $100 million on this fight or more. And McGregor could make somewhere in the range of 40 if he wins. Somewhere in the range of 20 if he loses.
That's not bad.
It's a disgrace. Whole thing's a disgrace.
And there you have it. All right.
U.S. economy segment.
Yes.
Here's some important numbers this week. Flash PMI, manufacturing flash PMI 52.5 versus expectations of 53.5. So manufacturing missed by a full point. The services PMI beat expectations 54.9, came in at 56.9, so beat by 2 points.
Which matters more.
Yes, because we are more services.
Yep.
But manufacturing it keeps dwindling. Services, home sales, big miss, 571,000 versus expectations of 612, which was the biggest annual drop since 2014, June of 2014. This morning, durable goods came in at minus 6.8% versus expectations of minus 6. Non-defense capital good orders ex-aircraft came in at plus 0.4% versus expectations of plus 0.3%. Last was flat at 0. So those are big numbers now. GDP model just came out for third quarter. Now it's up to 3.4%, and Goldman raises its third quarter GDP estimate from 3.2 to 3.0 from 2.8, quote, reflecting the solid growth in core capital goods shipments and durable goods inventories, end quote.
That's Goldman, or that's the Atlanta Fed?
That's Goldman.
Okay.
Then we have a lot of Fed speak earlier. I think this was yesterday or Thursday or Wednesday. Kaplan was not saying I want to raise rates again this year. He was on Bloomberg TV this morning, which I think you were citing.
Yeah, great interview.
We are clearly accommodative right now. Investors are now used to the idea that rates will be lower for longer. He also said market or real estate correction could be healthy.
Yes.
Market correction wouldn't necessarily hurt the economy and may help it.
Yes, but so this is the problem with these headlines, and we've talked about this.
That's why I'm getting clarification. I could not watch the speech.
Yeah, no, understood. It's not you. I mean, the market reporters put out these headlines, and they look for things that are provocative, and that's their job. I'm not knocking them. But what he actually said was, and again, to me, this guy should be Fed chairman if Yellen leaves. He said that what he looks at is not necessarily runaway asset prices that could fall. What he looks at is debt growing relative to those asset prices. He says if he sees debt growing relative to the assets that are off to the races in terms of pricing, then he gets worried. But in other words, if people are in this, I'll paraphrase, if people are losing the money they have, he's not worried. But if people are losing the money they borrowed, then it's a domino effect. And that's what he's worried about. And I just thought that was a really thoughtful and great comment, because that's when we get in trouble with bubbles like .com, right? Where there was a lot of borrowed money and these .coms crashed. People were trading on margin, and these companies were operating on nothing but funding and loans. And same thing with the credit crisis, right? Where we had borrowed money on top of borrowed money on top of borrowed money being bet. So he's just, I like that guy a lot. I like his thought process. So that's what he was saying. He doesn't see debt growing at the same rate yet. So if housing prices fall, it won't create a shock. It'll just be housing pricing falling.
What about, did he talk about the balance sheet?
He did. He said that the market knows that the balance sheet reduction is coming, and he was very specific in stressing it. People should understand this. I've even heard commentators talk about this and say it wrong, and it drives me crazy. They are not selling things off their balance sheet. And by the way, I know, Mike, you know this. They're not selling things off their balance sheet. They're just not going to reinvest securities that mature. So when a security matures, if you got a 5-year note and the 5-year term is up, the 5-year note expires, and you get cash. In the past, when some of the Fed's assets have matured and expired, they've gotten the cash and they've reinvested that cash into a similar security. It means they're going into the market and buying another one. They're not going to do that. They're going to return the cash to the Treasury. So there's going to be fewer buyers out there. And what he said, when they start this, there'll be fewer people buying, namely the Fed. And what he said was, the market knows about this. We've told them about this. And he goes, I think that's part of the reason Oh, I'm sorry. Part of the reason that he's not worried about it is because even though the market knows we're going to start doing this at a time near in the future, the 10-year note's still at 220. He said, so we're not surprising the market. They know we're going to be gradual, and that's why he thinks the market can handle them doing this.
All right. Then Yellen, she's at Jackson Hole,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Some of the headlines have been scrolling by while we've been on this, and I don't have full context. I went after some headlines, but any changes to financial regulation should be, quote, modest. No, algorithmic traders are now a larger presence in the markets.
Wait, say that one?
Algorithmic traders are a larger presence in the markets now. Risks of excessive optimism to return sooner or later.
Okay.
And that's really nailing stuff down.
See, this is what I mean. I mean, now maybe it's because of their different roles, but Robert Kaplan was just so much more clear. Now, these are headlines again,
Yes,
so I'm sorry. I didn't watch this speech, so.
No, these are headlines. I did like this one, though. She just said, quote, we have reason to hope that the financial system will experience fewer crises, end quote. Remember what we talked about this back in June. Remember when she said, quote, no financial crisis in our lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. That's a little change.
We have reason to hope that the financial system will experience fewer crises, but she said a couple months ago that we won't have a financial crisis in our lifetime. So,
right.
Which is it? Yeah, it's 2 months difference. What has changed? Oh boy. You mentioned the dollar index was off.
Yeah.
Is it still? Because I don't have anything in the currency, we sort of touched on European countries looking to issue cryptocurrencies, but
here's what I talk about for currencies is the euro is stronger. So the dollar index is weaker, and obviously that's a basket of currencies. Let me see where the dollar index is now. It is probably still weaker. I doubt it recovered.
Yeah, because the euro.
Yeah, it's still down 0.5%. So the euro is up. Germany, which is the EU's largest economy and best economy, and really is the EU. Without Germany, the EU does not make it. They had their highest GDP print year over year since 2014. That print, an anemic up 0.6. That's about the best performing economy in the developed world right now, is up 0.6 year over year. So, but that is the best since 2014. So it's positive that Germany has their best growth in 3 years, but still kind of anemic. It kind of tells you what the whole situation is. But that's driving the euro higher. So we don't expect, Draghi speaking, I think at 2, Mike. I think at 2 Central Time. So we're recording this prior to Draghi speaking. So we don't know what he said, and we're not going to know when it's not going to be on our recording. But Draghi is not expected to say anything. Yellen was expected to say something and didn't. Draghi is not expected to say anything, and I'm going to go with he didn't, even though we didn't hear the speech yet.
I don't think he'll say anything provocative.
He's much more about not saying anything than Yellen is. Yellen didn't say anything, so why would he?
Well, there you go. There you go. So, anything else on international or currencies or? Nope. Fine. What's your why?
Today's edition of The What and the Why is brought to you by Motive Wave Software. Motive Wave Software is a well-established developer of easy-to-use, full-featured charting, analysis, and trading software built for the individual trader. Motive Wave offers the best charting tools used by the pros, such as Elliott Wave, Fibonacci, Gartley, Gannon ratio analysis, but it's presented in a very easy-to-use way. Motive Wave has a product to fit any budget and any trading style, and one of the very best features, it's available on Windows and Mac. So go to pathtradingpartners.com right now to get your 14-day free trial, and then visit them at motivewave.com.
My why is, why don't I have a why?
You have a why?
I have a why?
Yeah. Why do you sound different?
Oh, Here's my why. Guess why I sound different. My at least in the very short term, it's going to sound like I'm calling into the podcast recording, which I am, because the CME group has asked me to do a daily Twitter spot for them, a Twitter video. So if you don't follow the CME, they have several Twitter handles, but the one that I'll be on is at CME Active Trader. And we also retweet it all the time at Path Trading Partners, Path_trading, and I retweeted Bob_Ichino. So if you want to see that, it's about a 90-second video every single day, just talking about 3 things that are important in the market for that particular day. So I have to be there to do that at about 8:45 Central Time, and we used to record the podcast at 8 a.m. Central Time. So I am now recording it from a remote location, not to be disclosed, because I've already got enough problems with paparazzi. I don't need all our podcast listeners coming over, wanting autographs, wanting to take pictures with me.
It's a great location. I mean, right behind you are all these. Are they all traders, or it's like there's real action going on, and like
there is.
Everybody's letting you proclaim the 3 hot news of the day.
They're letting me do my thing. Yeah, the recording is done on the trading floor behind the 10-year options bit, or in front of the 10-year options bit. So, yeah, so I mean, I'm honored that they picked me to do it. It's fun to do, but it's just that's why I sound different. That's my why.
I think I should follow up on last week's What with Tesla. We put out a video.
Yeah.
But that we talked about there was a massive double bottom which triggered, that got to stop production. Then it triggered a double top, which the target for that could be fully hit without stopping out the double bottom. Well, the target was fully hit without stopping out the double bottom. So we don't know eventually if that double bottom will get stopped out. It rallied back nicely after it hit the target for the double top, but this was trading around the core position we talked about. And if anybody wants to understand that more, they can check out our YouTube video on it. But I just wanted to mention, since we talked about it last week, that it officially closed out the short double top, and it's still a viable long double bottom in Tesla, my favorite company.
Yeah, Mike, if you haven't seen that, guys, Mike did a great explanation with the chart of how trading around a core position sometimes can make your losses much more palatable if you end up in a loss in the core position, and otherwise just augment your profits to the core position. And by the way, Mike, as I'm saying this, maybe take a look at Oracle's daily, because you might have the same situation on Oracle, but I can't really gauge it because I can't do anything from my remote location. But Oracle might have the same thing, and if it does, I'm not saying it does, we'll probably put out a video about that as well. But if you haven't seen it, go to our YouTube channel and check out the Tesla individual equity video that was done midweek this week. It's the only individual equity video we did this week, the week of the 22nd.
And it's definitely, for anybody who's a crypto trader who's now listening to us, it's definitely applicable. This trading around a core position is definitely applicable to the ways you can trade cryptocurrencies.
Right. Are you able to look at the Oracle one or no?
Trade around a core position.
Were you able to glance at Oracle and see if it applies or no?
Doing it right now. It's like literally I have to, the 4831 is the key level we're looking for in the right-hand bottom to be below, and the low 4831.
Wow.
To the penny. So let me see what that would do. Let me see what that would do. And we're going to have to do another video.
So it is there?
It's a valid double. Now I have to map out the extension to see if it would stop out the short. Okay, so this is actually sort of weird.
Sort of weird?
Yeah. Some of these camera levels line up exactly. It's sort of freaky.
All right, so let's do this. There may be an Oracle video this week, an individual Oracle video.
We'll put one out. We'll put one out this weekend. We'll put one out because this is a good. So this theoretically could go to the full 100% target without stopping out the short trade. It would have to be within a few cents, but it could easily hit the 75% reduced target
which I'd use on this one, without stopping out the short at all.
So for those of you, even if you're in
Oh, it hasn't triggered
cryptocurrencies,
yet.
okay, so even if you're in cryptocurrencies, Mike, I think we won't put this in the stock video. We'll put Oracle in there and say, check out the individual Oracle video so that we can actually do, a minute or two on Oracle without somebody having to sit through all the other stock videos. And if you're a cryptocurrency trader, this will apply to you because the same patterns happen in cryptos. So you'll want to watch that to see how this is traded.
All right.
Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm out, guys. Mike, thanks for being there.
You go back to being famous. You go back to being famous. I'm gonna go back to Washington.
Thank you for all you do, brother.
My people will thank your people.